Hello again and welcome to Sailboat Building Video Series. Although it doesn't look very much right now, you have to imagine this 15-meter sailboat built right behind me in this workshop that we are building right now. It is now a little more than a week later when we poured this concrete floor, and I have to say I was so lucky with the weather. After the pour there was 2 days of above zero, and then the winter came and the floor was managed to cure itself completely before it came freezing. So yeah, I was very lucky with this. Now I have had a week off this project and now we're back here. Now all the groundwork is done, the floor is done, the foundations are done. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, I suggest do it now, because now we're starting to put up the actual workshop on this floor. So everything went very smoothly with the floor pour. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. I think it's now covered with some snow, and yeah, nothing really went wrong, and it should be all right. We'll see at the actual surface when the snow has melted and ice has melted, so it might take a while, like 6 months or something. I'm just glad that everything is now done and we can continue. The next step is to get those legs of the shed and mark their places on that foundation and drill them in place. And after that we can start assembling the arches and all the stuff, and then we just put the tarp on, and that should be it. And then we have a kind of watertight structure here. Really happy so far. Good morning. It's a choppy minus 20 degrees Celsius in this beautiful cloudless morning, and I'm here waiting for the excavator guy. We're getting that tarp off that middle crate. So I was here a few days ago doing some work trying to start that assemble, but it turns out that the cross sections for those structures are in this middle crate, and there's this tarp on top of everything, so we need to get the tarp off, and it's so heavy that I can't do it by hand, so we need some kind of machinery for that, and that's what we're doing today. It's so cold that I can't leave this camera out here even for a minute. It will freeze immediately, so let's see how this goes. Beautiful though. Fortunately there's absolutely no wind, so it doesn't feel that cold actually. Alright, we got the tarp off. It's right there. It's much smaller than I thought. Now I took all this longer stuff out of that crate. There was actually quite a bunch of stuff underneath that, so that's good. Now I should have everything to put this frame up. It's a bit chilly, as you can maybe see, My beer is already frozen. It's not that bad actually if you do something, but if you stop for a minute, you're gonna freeze. So yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to be today, but at least I get all this stuff organized somehow. 10 o'clock and sun has just came up from the horizon. It won't actually raise very much higher than that. It's a very beautiful day. Still some stuff in here though, but I think I can handle this. It's not that complicated actually. Well, I will continue this off camera because I can't leave any cameras out here. They will freeze in a minute and the batteries will die. Just hang in there. I will fill this space with some B-roll stuff and like that. Yesterday it was so cold that I couldn't be here very long. Today is like -10 or something that feels like summer compared to yesterday. So I think we can get something done. Yesterday I just basically took these frames here and put them on here just to mark the places kind of, and then I left room in the middle so we can get the crane here. And now the plan is that I start assembling this frame from that corner, and let's see how that goes. So the problem was that I couldn't continue with the assemble was that this pile of tarp was on top of these parts on that final crate, so I needed to get these out from there. These contain diagonal supports and all the parts for the end of the shed, so I couldn't assemble anything without those parts. But now they are here and I got some extra tools to work with, and I think I can now continue with this. Although it feels a bit warmer than yesterday, it's still quite cold and I'm not sure how long this battery will last in this weather, but I try to put some time-lapse mode on, so let's go and do something. Alright, it's next week, Monday afternoon, and late last night I got this crane taken here. It took a while to figure out how we can use it, and we installed this generator at the front here, and now it should be fully independent and functional machine. It looks a little bit rough, but believe me, it's fully functional and serviced and works well. So the plan now is to build these two last frames ready to go, so that they can support each other, and we can then start assembling these frames on the ground here and then lift up against that end section there. So hopefully this works like I imagined. Yeah, the weather has taken kind of 180 degrees. Last 2 weeks there was very cold weather, and but now it's right around zero, and this week there should be above zero temperatures and everything will go wet, and later in this week the temperature will drop below zero again, so everything will kind of melt and then they will freeze. So I really try to install all these metal parts and frames before everything freezes again. Yeah, let's put the time-lapse mode on and take it from there. So I got here late last night. It was dark already, so I didn't film anything, but I got some things done. And most importantly, this. So the first frame of the shed is now done, and I have already done the second one on the ground here. I was hoping to get the second one installed on these second trusses, but they flex and bend too much. You can't put the next part on that end, it will kind of collapse down. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So that gives a bit of a problem. So now I have assembled the third frame ready to go here. Problem is that the limits of that frame comes, so I have to lift it a bit differently. I try to do that now. Unfortunately, this camera battery is dying and it's so rainy and moist in here, so I can't really leave this camera on here. But you can see the end result, or me injured myself with this thing. It's looking quite good and it's surprisingly big. It's huge. But I will now continue the work. It's not raining just right now, but it has been raining all morning, and yesterday it rained like a snow, smushy, slushy thing all day, and I was completely soaked. So this is the weather pattern here. Last week there was like 20 degrees below zero, and now it's just wet and miserable. I should have done this month ago. I will now continue and let's see how this goes. One thing I did, or I made my son to do it, there was a whole bunch of these bolts and screws came with the shed, and now all these have put together, so I can just grab this whole thing and it's easy to work with and not to search for different bits and bolts. In this case, bits and bolts really mean that. It's now Friday afternoon. Last week I got this end of the shed built up, but I couldn't continue with just this one crane because I should have taken these frames up there and then connect them on these sides, so it wasn't possible with just one crane. So for this weekend I rented another crane, which is right here. It's a little bigger one, it's more fancier one, and with that I'm gonna lift the frames up, and with that smaller crane to lift myself and connect them back there. So now I think I will start by taking that missing frame up there and try to connect that first. So, and then I can continue with these bigger frames that are ready, lying here on the ground, 3 of them. So after that there is 5, and then there is just 5 to go, so 10 of these frames all together. So I hope this method works, otherwise it sucks. But I think it will work. These frames are really not that heavy. I can lift this frame on this upper end by myself, so it is not that big of a deal for this crane to lift that, and the purpose is just to hold it on this place while I can connect them from the top and from the sides. But now I think I will move this crane a little bit forward to get that second frame installed on these ends right here and right there. It is already there to be lifted. Let's try that, and let's try not to hurt myself. Right, it's Sunday already, and there's 5 of these up. But before we'll take a look at that, there was one major problem yesterday. It turned out that the drawings didn't match. If you take a look up there, there are these longitudinal tubes, these ones. On drawings there is one of each of these straight pieces, but it turned out that on these there's actually 2 on the lower ones and 1 on the higher one. And of course the first 3 frames I messed them up. I didn't look at them at all because I trusted the drawings. So yesterday I had to take apart 2 of those already ready to go frames and assemble them again and then pull them up again. That took almost a whole day to figure out this everything. But eventually yesterday I got 5 of these frames up, so now it looks like this. This thing is just huge. And I have done all of this by myself with these 2 cranes. So today's agenda is to put at least 4 of these frames up. The last one is the other end, which I can build with all of these extra parts, so I don't need the crane for that necessarily, but we'll see if the schedule holds up. I can maybe build that as well today. But now I have to change the strategy a little bit because the crane is already here at the other end and I need some room to really raise the frame up. So this is the position the crane was last night with that 5th frame. So I think I cannot use this method anymore. I have to move the crane on the side here and pull them from this end up there so that the crane is actually on between of 2 frames. But this is easy to move around. It has motors on it. That one doesn't, so that's a little bit trickier. Or at least it needs some more force from my sword muscles. But okay, the weather is okay today. It's right around 0. It's snowing a little. Now the first task is to move the crane and then assemble 1 frame here, and I try to put some time lapse or something. Hopefully this battery will last. And that's the first frame up for the day. The sun is about to set in a half an hour, so I think I'll leave the filming for the day and concentrate for getting these frames up. That bigger crane is going away tomorrow, so I have to do this today. But it worked well, everything went as I planned, and now just move the cranes a little forward and build another frame in here and lift it up and so on. We'll see you next week, hopefully, when this frame thing is complete. Of course, after the frames are up, I have to add some of those horizontal pipes there and some diagonal structures and wires and stuff to keep it all straight and in shape. And then we need to bolt these to the foundation. I think it was a good decision I didn't do that before, because now I have some space to move these frames a little bit. They're not completely straight and not completely in shape. I don't know if you can see from the image, but those horizontal pipes go like little blah blah blah. So looking good so far. There's going to be plenty of space for me to work in, and that's the main goal here. Now I think I'll do one frame and then I go grab something to eat, and then I'll do the two more. Looking good. All right. Last night I was here bolting on this second to last one of these frames with my noise cancelling headphones on and hood on and the generator running, and I didn't hear anything. Then I stand up and started to wonder, where is the frames? And the wind had picked up and it all went down. Nice and smooth. I didn't notice anything. So here we are spending nice Christmas with this feeling in our hearts. Yeah. Kind of an annoying setback. Fortunately, I think there hasn't been that much of an damage except for some of these parts here. You can maybe imagine the feeling while doing days and days of work to get it up, and it was almost ready to go. Especially that I know it was my own fault. The reason for this was that although there were these diagonal parts already in place and it held well, but it wasn't bolted to the foundations yet, and I thought it was okay with that. But there should have been diagonal wires or something to hold the frames from going sideways by each other. So I think the wind last night, very cold wind as it is right now, also picked up and it moved the frames just a bit so that the last frame started to kind of move sideways, and then the diagonal beams didn't hold anymore, and then it started to collapse. So yeah. I'm gonna take a little break now from this, do some work, maybe that CNC router or stuff, and we'll get back to this after Christmas, and let's see how this goes. Fortunately, nobody got hurt. There's nothing that bad that money can't fix. I was hoping to end this video by raising the tarp over this frame, but plans changed. We'll see you on next video.